Hi, my name is Betsy Greer. I write about craftivism. I do want to be fully open on that one. I have a full-time job that is not about craftivism, and I think it's important to mention that when talking about what people do creatively, because it's doing this is a labor of love in a lot of ways, and I'm lucky to be able to have the time to do that on the side. It's not always something that you can live full-time off of, with especially in the US when you need health insurance. So I just want to throw that in there before I start talking about how I believe in craft. But making is something that I think that is really important to my own growth, to connecting with others. In about 2002, I started putting together how knitting and crafts are related to activism. I realized that activism is often seen as one thing or another, and I learned how to knit from my grandmother as far as like the actual kind of nitty-gritty part. But the beginnings was in a knitting circle. It was kind of a group of older women that I learned to knit from. My grandmother knitted hats for the hospital that she volunteered for infants, and I began to see how that is its own form of activism in a lot of ways. Because you're in activism, you are creating a world that you want to see. And that looks different for different people. Some people it's giving money, some people it's going out in the street corners and shouting with signs, and that's important, and we need that, and we need emotion, and we need emotions in ways that we feel that we can best express given our own journey. And what activism looked like to me was using my craft skills as a way to create change. And initially I knitted items for charity. I knitted a scarf for a domestic violence shelter for a drive that a friend was holding. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know, what kind of scarf can I knit? Like, I can choose to knit something beautiful. I can choose to knit something that's gonna really last. I can do both. The field was infinite for me to choose anything. And thinking about maybe what kind of clothes you might have if you're in a domestic violence situation, if you're leaving and you're running away from your partner who is beating you, then you may not have a lot of beautiful things. So I started to think about what kind of things I could make other people and how I could infuse them with joy and beauty and things that we are all worthy of. That's where I started, and then over time I have written books, and I have given lectures, and I have written essays about craft and activism, and this has been an active journey for me. It's also tracking how I came to craft. When I started knitting craft, and the tactile part was really important, and I didn't really know why, and then as I came to learn through talking about craft and activism, it was also a journey of healing myself, through numbing myself, through experiences with depression and assault and trauma, and so that's my unique lens of how I come to activism and craft. And they were really healing. Craft was a healing modality, because whereas I had done stuff with art and that wasn't, because it was like there was a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this in the way that I was taught, and that didn't sit well with me. And I found craft, and it has a history of, if you make a teapot, it just needs to pour tea, and I like that. I like that it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be what you want it to be, whatever you want it to be. What is my favorite part of this? It's the connective part. It's the joyful part, the part of being allowed to be a beginner, the part of learning, of craft, of metal, of stitch, of seeing this is what I'm interested in, or this is what I'm good at, or this is what I love, or this is what my grandfather explored, or giving permission for creativity and curiosity and connection. That is vastly exciting expanse of space and allows us to connect with ourselves and others. So I think what resonates the most is just the types of ways that you're getting people involved, and many different ways, and that is awesome. My family was in the military. I've done projects about war and how very few people actually call for war, and millions of people want peace. So I did a project that explored war around the world and anti-war graffiti efforts. And then I did a project called You Are So Very Beautiful with affirmations, because starting out on a personal thing of what I needed to hear. There's a thing called the 5-minute journal, and you do that and it asks you all these things every day, and one of those things was to come up with an affirmation, and I couldn't come up with anything good about myself. It was never you were beautiful, you are worthy, you are enough. And so I think that we often think that we're alone in a lot of things, and the things that we think we're alone in, we maybe, if we feel like it, should look into, because we're not usually alone, ever. I said, okay, what if I stitch these things? Will I maybe take them in? And then I didn't want to be a weirdo with a bunch of like affirmation signs around my house, so I thought about Seraphim Lothian's Guerrilla Kindness that she's written about, and about leaving stuff for others. So I did a project where I stitched things and left them for others, and then others stitched things and sent them to me, and I left them around and have sent them out to people, and I've done workshops. And my project now is called Dear Textiles. It kind of got a weird start because of the pandemic, but it's about looking at what makes textiles dear to us as humans and how textiles give us strength. And that tracks with my own experience of stitching and processing my own experience with trauma and assault, and sitting with the stitches and sitting with other people in those stitches, sitting with myself, and allowing grief and joy and worth and all these things to come together in those stitches. And I think that's the secret powerhouse part of craft, is that it allows us a time to safely express emotions. So so that project is ongoing, and if you go to deartextiles.com and have any thoughts about what I can do, or you want to share anything, I would love to hear about what makes textiles dear to you. What is a dear textile that you have? How have you found strength and connection and joy and worth through that? It means connecting through craft. And as I get older, it's more about connecting in all ways. Again, connecting to ourselves, connecting to other people, connecting to the world, connecting to history. It means connecting because we are a part of stitchers or metalsmiths or whatever, of a long, centuries-long line of great things and beauty and joy. And we are a part of that. And so we are made of strength and stitches and metal and power, and as makers we are powerful, and we're part of a long history of that. And if we're making now, we're going to be a part of that into the future. And I love the connection that craft gives me, and I'm probably biased because it connected me to myself first, and then it connected me to others, and there's beauty in that. And so I think that when we create and when we allow ourselves the space and the curiosity to create, it helps us create a world with positive change. And that is what craftivism means to me in a nutshell: creating positive change in a way that I can do it, in a way maybe that others can't. Not because I'm special, because it is my own story. And I want you to have your own story, and I want you to look at your skills that are creative, and I want you to look at what you're interested in. I want you to look at what you can do, and I want you to find what works for you to tell your own story. I started this out as a punk rock idea because that was what I was into. I was in DIY, and I was like, well, what if I say, hey, there's this idea that I like, and it's craft and activism, and they're related, and let's explore that. That's awesome. Yes. And what's so cool is that, to me, there's no kind of like do A and then do B and then do C and then this is your craftivism project. It's look at your history, look at what you can do, look at what you're interested in, and then this actually is a ring. It says "You are lovely" on it. It was sent to me by a woman who works by the name of Queenstown Goldsmiths, and it's a "You are so very beautiful" project based on my stitching project that she taught a class of people that she taught to make rings. And she took it into her own way and made it and gave all rings to the public and sent me one, and it says "You're lovely," and it's amazing. And I want everyone to take Craftivist projects and find their own joy and their own worth and their own connection to themselves and others, because that's what craft is to me. It's joy and it's freedom and it's sharing your worth and finding your worth. Hopefully when this is all over, I can come to Craft Space and say hi in person, and thank you. So thanks for your work and for including me. It's a true joy.